The committee will please come to order. I am pleased to convene this markup meeting of the Committee on Foreign Affairs. We have 4 bipartisan measures before us today. We received word last night that due to CR timing issues with the Senate, the House will be convening for legislative business an hour earlier than previously expected, leaving us less time for committee business this morning. So restraint and brevity would be very much appreciated to allow us to work as efficiently as possible. And we know that several members have other markups, one of them being judiciary. So members are given leave to insert remarks into the record should they choose to do so. Pursuant to notice, for purposes of a markup, I call up the bill H.R. 1280 to amend the Atomic Energy Act of 1954 and for other purposes. Without objection, this bill will be considered as read and open for amendment at any point, and the bipartisan amendment in the nature of a substitute that members have before them will be considered as read and as base text for purposes of amendments. Before turning to the ranking member, I recognize myself to speak on this measure. And this amendment in nature of a substitute represents a broad bipartisan consensus on much-needed reform of the Atomic Energy Act and contains contributions from several members of this committee, but most especially from the ranking member, Mr. Berman. Its principal purpose is to enhance the role of Congress in approving nuclear cooperation agreements with other countries, as well as to strengthen protections against peaceful nuclear cooperation being misused for military purposes. If a country meets the nonproliferation conditions in the Atomic Energy Act, as amended by this bill, the approval process would continue as before. That is, a congressional review period of 90 days of continuous session, after which the agreement would go into effect unless we adopt a resolution of disapproval. The new conditions in this bill are essential to strengthening the nonproliferation regime and include such basic steps as requiring that the other country is closely cooperating with the U.S. to prevent terrorists from acquiring weapons of mass destruction, is not a destination of diversion concern under the Comprehensive Iran Sanctions Accountability and Divestment Act of 2010, has acceded to the major international conventions regarding nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons, and has established an effective export control system to prevent goods and materials being sent to countries for use in nuclear weapons programs. The country must also agree to forego manufacturing nuclear fuel by enriching uranium or reprocessing plutonium unless it has already this capacity in place when it signs its agreement with the United States. Further, the bill specifies that a proposed agreement with a country does not, that does not meet all of these requirements in the amended AEA, it will require an affirmative vote by both houses of Congress. There are a number of other important provisions in this bill, such as the termination of assistance to any country that withdraws from the Nuclear Nonproliferation Treaty, a prohibition of assistance to any country that is actively engaged in proliferation, and a requirement that the President keep this committee and its Senate counterpart fully and currently informed on new and ongoing negotiations, among others. It's important that Congress act now to put these new protections in place so that cooperation between the U.S. and other countries to promote peaceful nuclear activities can grow without fear that it will be used to undermine our national security and that of the world as a whole. And